We are here to deliver a SmackDown in the Squared Circle Time Machine as we go all the way back to 1999 when UPN and the WWF teamed up for what was at the time a network special, which ended up down the line becoming a regular series later that year. We are talking about the SmackDown pilot here on the Squared Circle Time Machine. I'm Greg with Dane Wojcik, and Dane, we have, well, as we're recording this, we're a couple of days removed from the loss of Sabu.
Yeah, I think that was quite the shock, I guess. Even just remembering that he wrestled what was ended up being now his last match there, and during WrestleMania week there at, I think, against Joey Janela. Sadly, I didn't see too much of his earlier stuff. When I got into Sabu and ECW, I think it was 98, 99. Probably one of the best matches I saw with him was him and RVD versus Hayabusa and Jinsei, also known as Hakushi, there at Heatwave 98, which was a phenomenal match at pretty good pay-per-view card. And of course, I enjoyed his brief stint with the WWE reinstated ECW there, where we had some pretty good matches with Rey Mysterio and John Cena, of all people. That was just mind-blowing. And just even, I think, recently just came across on the Vault channel there, a dark match tryout, I guess, for Sabu in WWF in 93 against Scotty 2 Hotty and Scott Taylor. And he was God. That was I don't know why Vince didn't sign him in 93, I guess. I mean, those could have been some phenomenal, he moves and doing all the dives off over the top rope and onto guardrails and onto wrestlers. I guess maybe Vince didn't see it he saw it more as a liability than a asset. But imagine the stuff he could have done with Brett and Shawn and Kid. Those could have been business saving matches, in 93 to 95.
I remember seeing him for the first time in WCW when Nitro started and being like, wow, this guy is incredible the way he moves and such.
My knowledge of Sabu and WCW actually came when I bought Halloween Havoc 95 as a rental tape from a movie gallery that went out of business, and remembered watching Sabu was in WCW for a bit. And that match against another ECW stalwart in Jerry Lynn under the masked persona of Mr. JL. That's clever. But even there, it was both of them were doing moves that were light years ahead of what was being done on TV at the time. And of course, Halloween Havoc 95 being more noticeable for the Monster Truck sumo match, and of course the debut of the Yeti.
Oh, the Yeti and the Giant giving double penetration to Hulk Hogan.
Oh yes. Actually, I think I got a Sabu action figure from when Mattel started, or I think it was one of the last few things that Jakks Pacific did was with the WWE. It was one of the class, I guess, Legends or something like that. But I got one. I'll have to post a picture of it later. But it's another legend gone, and hopefully not forgotten.
No. Well, now let's move on to Backlash.
Yes, Backlash, also known as WrestleMania the sequel, or the better half of what WrestleMania should have been. Because it was a pretty solid card, and actually it's kind of funny after I read someone's comments that this would have been a pretty good In Your House card, and our In Your House episode just dropped, so I was that's quite good timing. It was a phenomenal opening match with the 4-way for the U.S. title, and another island person is now here in Jeff Cobb.
Is every person of Polynesian descent going to be in the bloodline regardless of whether they're related or not?
It's similar to how almost every Mexican or luchador ends up being somehow feuding or associating themselves with the LWO or Legado Fantasma, I guess. But of course, I just also, funny enough, I just read a rumor today that I guess Roman Reigns is supposed to be returning at SummerSlam with Zilla Fatu in tow. So yeah, I guess everyone's going to be somehow attached to the family.
Well, all we gotta say is R-Truth, you were the stupid as hell. He went all Leroy Jenkins in the main event.
Oh, poor our truth. I mean, he goes to help his childhood hero out, eats an RKO for his troubles, and then tries to congratulate John during the press conference, and then gets AA'd through the table by John. Truth is just going to be totally oblivious to it and try to gaslight us into thinking John Cena is still a good guy.
I love how stupid R-Truth is. But apparently, I think I heard rumor that it's going to be Cena and R-Truth for the title at Saturday night's main event.
Oh, that's going to be a pretty packed card then, because they announced Jay versus Logan Paul, and now Punk and Sami Zayn versus Rollins and Breakker. And possibly as well, too, I think rumored is we're going to probably get Rhea versus Io for the women's world title.
Okay, that's going to be good.
I just hope they keep capitalizing on the supposed goodwill that Io has developed with the front office, and even just the fans themselves have really caught on to her now that they're doing that little dual finger gun head shaky thingy now too that she does.
Oh, I love it. Io is like become the big star of 2025.
Oh yes, I you know what? I would almost argue for at this rate, I would argue for her to be like the wrestler of the year.
And speaking of good women's matches that we're going to get coming up at Battleground, it's going to be on my birthday. And what better birthday gift for me than to get two of my favorite women's wrestlers, Stephanie Becker and Jordan Grace, going one-on-one for the NXT women's title.
Oh, that is going to be hard hitting, and it's going to be phenomenal to watch that match. I think it's just even watching, I think last week with Jordan Grace versus Julia, that was like probably the closest we're going to get to like a strong style women's match on North American soil that we had between the two of them last week. And that'll be interesting to see what back here can do with Grace in the ring.
And I think that's going to be a preview of a lot of future great matches between them down the line.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I hate to go from Jordan Grace and Stephanie to this, but okay, here we go. Last week, we had the dark side of the ring on Billy Jack Haynes.
Yes, what an interesting character.
That guy is so fucking insane.
Like I told you in kind of the pre-show chat, and to think that him claiming that Vince had the entire Benoit family wiped out because Chris found out Nancy had an affair with Vince and produced Daniel, that was like, I thought that was a tip of the iceberg of craziness, but no, he also claims to be Vince Senior's son and some kind of cross-country cocaine trafficker, and tried to claim fame that he helped deposit a couple of teenage boys in Arkansas that may have gone and were in the wrong place or the wrong time for a drug deal that went wrong. And I mean,
also, he claims that he did a hit for the Clintons. But I love that Fonzie said, yeah, that's fucking batshit insane. When Fonzie is saying that about you, that you're fucking crazy, you are fucking crazy.
Yeah. Although speaking of, it was also nice to see Fonzie looking like he looks a lot better now than he did like as a referee in some of the stuff we've watched recently. Whatever fountain of youth he found, keep at it, Fonzie.
But I will say, I love the claim that he made. Apparently, he thinks he's the Peter Hollister of the Vince McMahon family. Well, let's get into talking about the SmackDown pilot on April 27th of 1999. Now, Dane, when you heard that the WWF was working with UPN on a network special, what was your reaction?
UPN? That's still a network? Of course, we didn't really have UPN up here in Canada. I think it was some of the stations would later become like UPN or Warner Brothers TV affiliates, but there wasn't really a direct. And the only other thing I knew UPN for was being the home for Star Trek Voyager at the time. So it's like I'm thinking to that the Simpsons episode with the spin-off showcase where it's like where Troy McClure is showing off like this big board of Fox's primetime lineup, and there's like a whole bunch of question marks except for Sunday nights having The Simpsons and The X-Files. So it's am I thinking, are they just looking for stuff to fill in that's non-Star Trek stuff?
Now, wait a minute, Dane. You didn't have Moesha in Canada.
Well, we got Moesha, well, thanks to all our wonderful crossover simulcasting stuff with our over-the-air stations like CTV and CBC and Global. That's how we would get stuff like that. But unless you were lucky enough to have satellite or lived in the cities with cable, that's the only way you can get some stuff is just over the air. It's not like today where almost everyone, you're pretty much now forced into getting like either satellite or now it's digital, all your digital streaming stuff now, like off your Chrome boxes or whatever, your whatnot.
So, how'd you get this in Canada? Was this on TSN too?
I think that's, yeah, because the first special was on TSN, but then I think once they decided to start airing it weekly, that's when it went on to Headline Sports, which is now Sportsnet 360.
All right. So let's get going into the recap of this special before we start the show. So we get recaps of what happened. I forgot this pilot aired the week after Backlash.
Which that too was like a better pickup from that year's WrestleMania as well too, because it was 15 being the so-called raging climax and being kind of an show, and then Backlash being a much better put together show, at least in terms of logic. We had Austin Rock again for the title, but this time it was Austin wanting back the Smoky Skull belt that's Vince had taken back in Hamilton on the Breakdown pay-per-view in '98. But then we also had the beginnings of Undertaker going into full Ministry of Darkness and wanting to run the WWF and make Stephanie his Dark Bride. So at the end of Backlash, Stephanie's in the limo asking the driver to why they haven't left yet, and then all of a sudden the window rolls down and there's good old Beelzebub Taker there with his goat beard. Where to, Stephanie? And then Stephanie's just screaming, ah!
And that leads into one of the greatest Monday Night Raws of all time, because I forgot that this was also the Raw where the corporation turned on Rock and Rock officially turned face.
Yep.
And then we had the infamous Black Wedding between The Undertaker and Stephanie.
Which was gate crashed first, which they didn't show in the clips there, but gate crashed first by Ken Shamrock, who tried to stop it and got his ass soundly beaten down by the Acolytes. And then we had the Big Show also try to gate crash, and Taker took him out. And then we had the final, probably the best, loudest pop I think I've ever heard was the glass shattering, and Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out and clears the ring of everyone and saves Stephanie. And as we had Jim Cornette on commentary, stating that he didn't do it for the love of Vince McMahon. He did because it was the right thing to do.
All right, so that's our recap leading up to this. So Austin saved Stephanie from being married to The Undertaker. Where was he about 6-7 months later for this? I don't know. The last time that would happen. Well, we get our first look at the intro to SmackDown. The move on the move, move on the move. It's not quite thorn in your eye, but you know what? This was a classic.
It was, yeah, it's better than whatever they got now for SmackDown. That's Nicki Minaj thing or whatever.
So Michael Cole mentions as we start that the WWF has returned to network TV because if you'll remember, Dane, the last time the WWF had a network special would have been the Saturday Night's Main Event in October 92 on Fox, where Shawn won the Intercontinental title over Bulldog.
Okay, yeah.
So this had been, 6.5 years since the WWF had a primetime special on network TV. I know it's UPN, but still.
So that's got to be a big deal for them. I mean, this is them rising. I mean, think about it, like 3 years prior to this, they were on death's door there. Like, I mean, if you believe Vince's story that he told Brett why he had to renege on his $20 million contract was he was going to reduce his company size down to just the Northeastern territory and concentrate there and stuff. But it was hard times for the WWF. The Attitude Era came along and people were making money hand over fist.
Yeah. So I have it paused here at 326 with all the signs right here.
Yeah.
I want to point out this one sign. Mike Anderson is fat.
Well, Mike Anderson, congratulations. You just got fat shamed on national TV.
All right. Michael Cole and Jim Cornette are our hosts for the pilot. And we get to start the show with Vince and Stephanie being walked down the ramp by some armed guards. And I pointed this out to you, Dane, before the show. I love this look on Stephanie's face, like this confused look as she's walking down the steps. Because really, if you think about it, Stephanie's been like only just introduced as a character on the show.
Yeah, she was just only introduced maybe a couple months ago at this point in time. This is one of my favorite versions of Stephanie.
Oh, sweet innocent Stephanie.
Sweet innocent Stephanie, yes.
Before she got corrupted by Hunter and DX.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like Vince has become a better person, I guess.
He's seen the light. He's made some mistakes, but he's going to start correcting now those mistakes.
Oh, I assure you, Dane, that he's going to be correcting these mistakes. There's not going to be a problem with Vince from here on out, Dane.
No.
No, he's not going to do anything stupid in the future.
No. Yes, it's going to be, everything's going to be all right for Vince from this point on.
Yeah. Oh, no, Dane. You know who comes out to interrupt this promo? You know who comes out to interrupt Stephanie?
Oh, we know who comes. Yep, it's Shane O'Mac and the rest, whatever's left over the corporation that he didn't sack or left, which now just results in basically the Boss Man, Triple H, Chyna, and the Mean Street Posse.
Oh, yeah, the Mean Street Posse. You know, the most beloved members of the corporation.
Yes. We don't need Ken Shamrock and Test and The Rock. We got Robbie and Pete Gas here.
Oh, yeah, Pete Gas is a future main eventer.
I think even Patterson and Briscoe were also given the heave-ho, too, by the young upstart.
Oh, that is just bad decision-making. Getting rid of all your old veterans like Patterson and Briscoe. Who does he think he is, Mike McCagnon? Vince is going soft at his old age.
Well, according to Shane, he's getting soft. He's too soft now.
Yeah, he's getting too soft.
And he doesn't give a rat's ass about Steve Austin and The Rock anymore. And he tells Vince to get a step in.
Yeah, get the hell out of this ring.
This is my time now, old man. The future is now, old man.
Yeah, it's all Shane O'Mac time, baby. I'm all for this.
Yeah, because Shane, he was a decent promo, especially obnoxious Nepo baby here.
Oh, before we knew what a Nepo baby was, in the future. Yeah, he was a total Nepo baby. So we're going to get a tag match in this show tonight, Dane. Our main event is going to be The Undertaker and Triple H taking on Stone Cold and The Rock.
Two former rivals teaming together.
Huh.
And against two guys that just seemingly haven't had any source of problems with either person yet. What's going on here?
Yeah, I wonder indeed. Wonder how that's going to affect tonight's show.
Yes, we'll find that out later on.
Yeah. But meanwhile, we get Michael Cole and Jim Cornette at the table here. And I showed you this sign here.
Yeah.
Richard Carrara, wish you were here. This cardboard sign it, 1655.
That and looks like the cutest little kid as well too, just leaning on the barrier there too, just in between Cornette and Cole.
Yeah, this was probably the highlight of this kid's life, being on the SmackDown pilot, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, here is what we have tonight for this show. We have a WWF Tag Team title match between Kane and X-Pac against the New Age Outlaws. We have the Big Boss Man against Mankind. We have a street fight between Bradshaw and Ken Shamrock.
That's what we got lined up so far. But meanwhile...
Oh, we have Jeff and Deborah walking down.
Well, they were looking for someone, but they seem to be confused as to where he's at. And then we cut to Owen Hart as the Blue Blazer running down backstage, reminding us, the WWF needs a superhero, and I'm here to give one. Woo!
Yeah.
This is kind of a bittersweet thing because this is like even getting close to, the anniversary of his tragic death. And
yeah, it's hard to not think of this time without thinking of that.
Yeah.
Okay, he's facing Val Venus. Okay, Val is going to give a promo. So I want to hear this promo, so I'm going to play it here.
Yes.
I wonder if he'll mention Zellers in this promo.
Hello, Zellers.
Hello, ladies. Ladies, tonight I would like to invite each and every single one of you to invest in the Big Valboski's mutual fund. You see, it's always up more than it's down, and I can guarantee you with this fund, there will never be an early withdrawal.
You get it, Dane, an early withdrawal. He's talking about, I'm talking about my penis. All right, so here is Scott's review of Val Venus and the Blue Blazer. Blazer with missile drop kick, but he runs into a boot in the corner, and Val drop elbows and follows with a suplex. Val stops the lyric Deborah, distracting the ref long enough for Jarrett to kick Venus in the nuts and give the Blazer the pin at 2 minutes. 1 star. And then Val runs away from the Cold Bass to continue that idiotic storyline.
Oh, God. I forgot about that whole... Oh, I forgot about the whole bizarre love triangle stuff that we can probably thank Vince Russo for. Because we had Nicole wanting Val wanting Deborah, Deborah being oblivious to what's going on. But, of course, we'll get another potential suitor for Miss Deborah coming right away, because apparently on the Raw before this episode, I guess there was a match between The Godfather and Jeff Jarrett, I think, where if The Godfather won, that Deborah would become an employee, I guess, of The Godfather.
Wait, so Deborah would be a hoe?
Apparently, somehow The Godfather won. So, yeah, basically, we got The Godfather coming out later on afterwards to claim his property. And then he gets a proper beatdown by Jeff and Blazer. I think, like much of everything else, this, I think, got probably forgotten about by Vince Russo's ADD. So, thanks, I guess.
All right, we see The Rock. He's pacing a little bit back and forth.
Pacing back and forth and talking to himself, probably going crazy. So in about 20 years, I'm going to have to ask Dusty Rhodes' youngest kid to sell a soul, and then I'm just gonna disappear into the ether, and then let them figure it out on their own.
I'm gonna disappear like Richard Avery in Knots Landing season 4. So we go to commercial, come back, and Kevin Kelly's interviewing the Blue Blazer, and Kevin's like, "Oh, come on, Owen. We all know it's you."
We know it's I'm not Owen. Where's Owen Hart? I'm looking for Owen Hart too. Again, this is like all the circumstances have changed, because I think this is also like the whole thing with the Blazer, I think was also like supposedly I could dig at Brett's claims that everything in the WWF got deplorable. So we got Blue Blazer saying everything's deplorable. There's too much cleavage. And you got that foul. I can't even say his name, but you know what it rhymes with. And the WWF needs a superhero like me. And to all my little Blue Blazers out there, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and always drink your milk. Woo!
You know what was so despicable in that Billy Jack Kane's Dark Side of the Ring? Billy Jack claiming, "Oh yeah, Vince, he killed Owen." Like, what?
I think, yeah. You're blaming the wrong Vince there, Billy Jack, because I think we also had Roddy Piper there at one point in TNA there when Vince Russo decided, when he introduced the Sports Entertainment Extreme sex. And it was just going to be all shooting all the time, and Piper shows up and right on TV pretty much says that you killed my cousin Owen.
You killed my cousin Owen, Vince.
And then you know what? Even listening to the early parts of that Billy Jack Kane, I guess when they were saying, I guess that he tried to break into Stu Hart's Stampede territory, and I guess he got kicked out there because he was too rough with the boys. So that's like, if Stu Hart thinks you're a bit of a loose cannon, I mean, time to reevaluate your life.
Oh, you gotta think Stu probably stretched Billy jerk. It was probably, hey, Billy jerk, hey, I can take it. Hey.
Of course, mind you, that would have been the late 70s, early 80s, so Stu hasn't quite gone into full creepy old man mode yet. He's still kind of...
Oh, no, he's still kind of all there.
Yep.
All right, our next match, The Big Show against Test.
Oh, God, this was the weird period of time when they were still trying to figure out not only what to do with the Big Show, but what kind of attire should he wear. So he's got the really almost a tiny jock riding pants here.
Oh, I'm playing it right now in the video. Big Show looked like a default call on like SmackDown 1 with this getup right here.
Yep.
This is probably the most oily I've ever seen Paul White ever. So the good thing about this show is it goes by so quick with this Russo-rific booking that it get reviews like this from Scott. Test was freshly kicked out of the corporation, goes after Big Show, who puts him down with a dropkick. Jesus H chokeslam finishes at 102. Big Boss Man attacks Test afterwards, but Big Show saves him. What? Oh, okay. I guess.
Okay, I don't know. Are we getting? Because we also got to remember too, like Big Show was kicked out of corporation back at WrestleMania for nearly killing Mankind during their match, and Vince having him arrested, and then him being hauled off away in some tiny police car, and you give some guy a badge, and he thinks he's got stroke all of a sudden.
You know, I have an idea. I think maybe the Big Show and Test, they should form some kind of something like a union.
A union?
It's not a union, but it's not really a union. It's a union of people that have been downtrodden. Oh, it's a union of people you ought to respect.
Because we got some other members of that union coming up.
But guess who's coming out after the match? It's The Rock.
Freshly faced third Rock as well.
Oh, yeah. Like, the crowd's been ready to, like, cheer him for a long time now.
I mean, heck, he was getting cheers after, like, for the build up for the match at Backlash where he threw Steve Austin off a bridge, and then he's eulogizing Austin the next week, and you got the crowd like cheering him, like, dearly departed trailer trash. Yay! I mean, it kind of reminds me of like when we had the initial Hollywood Rock when they were in Toronto, and he's like, "Oh, he's like," the people are like, still wanting to cheer him, but still wanting to boo him, and he's like mocking them, like, "Oh yeah, it's just at Toronto, yeah, cheer for me, cheer for me." Now here we are, got genuine love from the crowd, and Rock embracing the love from the crowd.
So Rock's doing his promo, but who comes out to interrupt it? Stone Cold. So this was like, okay, now you have The Rock, who was the biggest heel. Now he's one of the biggest baby faces in the company with the other biggest baby face in the company.
Yes.
So it's like, I wouldn't say like, because they weren't really like a modern day Mega Powers. So yeah, Austin, he's not impressed with Rock's promo. And then Shane comes to interrupt.
And of course, then we get, as Jim Cornette would describe on commentary, the merger from hell.
Oh, yes. The corporation has now formed with the Ministry of Darkness, and they're now going to be the corporate ministry.
Yes. Then you better get it together and change your strategy. Yeah.
And you know what? The most 1999 thing happens.
Yes, I remember. As soon as I remember that too, because as soon as Taker comes out, he got the freaking laser pointers on him.
The laser pointers on him and Shane. How much longer do they have the laser pointers?
I have no idea, because I remember the laser pointers also like ruining the initial like Ministry of Darkness stuff, like when Taker, when he abducted poor Dennis Knight there and turned him to Midian in there and had the blood drinking ceremony. They got the laser pointers all on Taker, and he's doing his big speech on his throne there, and 5 or 6 laser pointers are all on his face there.
All right, so we're gonna have this big matchup tonight, the tag match, but we're gonna cut back to Kevin Kelly cutting a promo with the WWF Tag Team Champions, X-Pac and Kane. And I gotta say, Dave, this was an unlikely alliance, but I love this tag team.
You know, I loved it too, and I think if we get to this point, I would love to do like a kind of a Kane retrospective, like how we did with Bob Backlund, because everything about Kane, like from the first Hell in a Cell to this point here, and it's quite the journey.
Oh, it definitely is. And then it leads up to maybe the greatest heel turn of all time.
Yeah.
If you've listened to the AE podcast, you know what we're talking about. Yep. All right, so let's go to Kevin Kelly with X-Pac and Kane.
X-Pac, Kane, tonight you defend the tag team titles against the New Age Outlaws. But let's go back first to last Monday night, X-Pac, because you two definitely had some problems. Immediately following Kane's being victimized by the bloodbath from the Brood, as we take a look at some footage from last Monday, you'll see once again, Kane, instead of turning his anger and attention towards the Brood, turned it towards you, grabbing you by the throat and surprising everybody by choke slamming you over a wall. Then X-Pac, you look to settle things throughout the night, finally calling out Kane towards the end of the evening, wanting answers about where you stood. For that question, you received once again a choke slam from your tag team partner. So in light of the obvious differences that you two are having, plus the fact that you're taking on fellow DXers, the New Age Outlaws, is your loyalty torn tonight in this tag team match?
So what do you ask me, Kevin? If it's going to be unpredictable out there tonight? Well, that's how he seems to like things. You want things unpredictable? That's what you're going to get.
X-Pac and Kane to defend the tag team titles later on.
I love the way Kane just casually pushed Kevin there.
Yeah, and the Kevin's just like, hey, that hurt.
So our next match is Draws against D'Lo Brown.
With Ivory and the scarf. And Draws is accompanied by the future Lord Tensai in Prince Albert.
I forgot Albert already came at this point. I love that Albert is wearing a t-shirt for the WWF Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. That never happened. If you'll remember, the WWF bought Debbie Reynolds' old casino because they wanted to build their own hotel and casino. And they were like, nah, we're good. We'll just focus on Times Square.
Times Square and our store in Niagara Falls, Canada.
I wonder if that shirt goes for like big money on eBay.
It probably does, since it's advertising a thing that never happened.
Oh, hold on a second. They showed the back of Albert's shirt, okay? I'm going to show it to you in the screen share. Because life is one big crapshoot.
Oh, God.
Was that going to be the advertising slogan for the hotel? God. Yep, we got Ivory in the damn scarf. So here's the review from Scott. No, not that match. Oh, God, Scott. Oh, I know what he's referencing. That's horrible.
Oh, no.
Draz clotheslines him out of the corner and follows with a power slam, but goes up to gloat and gets power bombed as a result. D'Lo drops the leg and catches Draz with the sky high to the top, but Prince Albert shoves him off. The heels collide on the floor. D'Lo hits them both with a dive, but now Albert just comes in for the DQ at 320. The heels threaten to forcibly pierce D'Lo's tongue, but Mark Henry makes the save.
Yes, Mark Henry, dressed as a giant watermelon, I'm guessing.
Hold on, I'm trying to catch up here. I want to see. Oh my God! Hold on, I got.
Then he thought the salmon pink coat, sports coat, was quite the fashion statement.
His suit here. But I love that they embrace D'Lo and Morgan there. Everyone's like, yeah!
The dream team is back together again.
Oh, yes. Good times indeed.
Yep.
So now we go to Kevin with the New Age Outlaws. So figure we played X-Pac and Kane's promo, so might as well play the Outlaws promo.
Yep.
New Age Outlaws, your tag team title match is next, but do you feel awkward at all taking on your good friend X-Pac?
Well, Double K, as you know, and everybody else knows, that from our nose to our toes, we got champs written all over us. But by cracky, it may get a little wacky, because X-Pac is a close and personal friend of mine.
Whoa. Friends? Friends? There's no friends when it comes to these titles, man. Get your head on, would you?
Billy.
Billy Gunn getting ready for his big King of the Ring push as the Ass King.
Are we this close to the greatest Jim Johnson theme song of all time?
I'm hoping.
Oh,
Love him. I love to serve him. I love to lick him.
love to watch him because I'm gonna kick him in ass, man. All right, I'm not gonna lie. Anytime I'm in my car, I get the urge sometimes to just blast that theme on my car stereo. Now, let's head to Scott for his review of this match. Billy Gunn on the verge of turning heel no-sells the usual intro because he's all business. Gunn's singles push is, of course, an all-timer on the list of laughable failures of this era. X-Pac trades hip tosses with Road Dogg, and they crotch chop each other to show it's just business or something. Gunn slugs away on Kane, but Kane puts him down for a leg drop and gets two. Kane puts him down with a clothesline as we're past 3 minutes, and thus the crowd is already bored of this match. It took a long time to retrain the fan base to have an attention span longer than Russo's. It's just a side effect of Crash TV booking. Unfortunately, Gunn pounds away on X-Pac, but misses a charge, and it's hot tag Kane. Kane is a house of fire, much like the ones his parents burned to death in. But the Outlaws double team him. It's Bonzo Gonzo, and Dog goes low on Kane to set the Famouser for 2. Gunn tries a press slam on X-Pac, but Dog accidentally clips his own partner, and X-Pac falls on top to retain 7 minutes. Star and a half. So yeah, this is just to set up the eventual turn by Billy on Road Dogg.
Yeah.
Which, of course, as we all know, leads to much great things for Billy. Right.
Right. Yes. You can't use the term Billy Gunn, King of the Ring push by without a Billy Gunn. So
hold on a second. We got to get back to the replay here because we went to commercial as Austin was putting like his knee pad on, getting ready for the tag match. So we cut to commercial, go back from commercial. So we're going to hear a recap from Cole and Cornette from the tag match, and then we're going to go backstage to the Outlaws.
We're back with WWF SmackDown on UPN, and folks, just a few moments ago, X-Pac and Kane retained the WWF Tag Team titles.
Well, Lady Luck was on the side of the defending champions, as you see. Mr. Ass press X-Pac. Watch Road Dogg knocked into Mr. Ass's leg. X-Pac comes down on top of the pile and gets the 3 count. X-Pac and Kane still your WWF Tag Team champions.
And this is now live.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Billy, there'll be other
No, there won't. I can guarantee you. There's not going to be another one with you. I can assure you of that. Yeah, this match isn't over yet either.
Vance, Road Dogg, and Billy are fighting. I guess we also got Dave and we got Sargent to write this up. What the fuck were Tony, Dave, and Sarge going to do breaking this shit up?
well, all the other consigliaries, I guess, have all moved on and retired, I guess. I mean, no more Rene Goulet, and Patterson and Briscoe are kind of now more on-screen characters than actual backstage people now, so...
Okay, Dane, it's the promo we've all been waiting for.
Oh, yes. And of course, it's nicely set up because we got our old friend from In Your House, Doc Hendricks, all dressed up in some nice matching double corduroy pants and suit and shirt. Because I know we call it up here in Canada, we call it like the Canadian tuxedo where it's like the double denim. What the hell would that be called?
Fuck if I know, Dane.
Yeah, and it pretty much screams like, I do hope nothing happens to ruin this fancy dinner.
Well, this was big, Dane, because the Brood had been around since what? SummerSlam?
Yeah, because I think Christian also debuted on TV as well as Breakdown 98. And I think officially they kind of got together, I think, in around October, November on TV. So, yeah, and they inexplicably joined the Ministry for some reason. Until, because this was the initial attempt to Taker kidnapping Stephanie, where we had the Brood and Ken Shamrock. Well, I think it was a match between Christian and Ken Shamrock, and Shamrock's got Christian in an ankle lock where he's trying to force Christian to give up the location of where Stephanie is in the building, and then Shamrock gets bloodbathed, but not before Christian gives up the load that she's in the basement. So we got blood-soaked Ken Shamrock coming in to save Stephanie from hiding in the basement there, and she's got like the little Ministry symbol drawn on her head, and then seeing like this blood-soaked Ken Shamrock coming in, like screaming, "Ah, there you are! Come with me! You're gonna be safe now!" So for their punishment, for Christian's punishment, we had Undertaker flogging Christian. Like he had him tied up on some thing backstage, and he's got like a leather strap and just strapping him like, yeah. I think that's why the Brood left the Ministry, because they're like, okay, this is obviously no longer for us. But of course, tonight we're going to find out for sure why they left the Undertaker's side.
Yeah, this is the first time they're ever going to speak, Dane. We've never heard the Brood speak.
No.
All right, so let's go to Doc. This epic
but beforehand, I just gotta say that the Brood theme is still one banging theme.
Oh, it is. All right, let's play it.
Doc Hendricks do the interview.
The fans have waited for what seems like an eternity for the Brood to finally break their silence. Center stage is yours.
The Brood initially has not spoken by our own choice, and then later it was forbidden by the Undertaker. Well, when the Brood enter this world, we crave the guidance, that guiding light to show us the way, and that was the Undertaker. Well, unfortunately, The Undertaker's thoughts and feelings were not the same as ours. Where in the darkness, we seek a much different light. We live our collective lifestyles for who we are and what we believe in the search of the mystery of life and the hereafter. And the power is what we seek. And it's within all of us. And we just have to unleash
it. Okay. Does that or does that not sound like Butters from South Park cutting a promo?
I'm surprised we didn't have like in that one wrestling episode of South Park that Butters wasn't like a spooky vampire person. That would have been Gangrel to the T. I mean, because you can see him Gangrel visibly struggling like with his prosthetic fangs there, and that's not helping the matter. And he's like, the first they are everlasting search for the and then of course you have Edge pacing back and forth, grinning like a Cheshire cat, and Christian at least just kind of looking all sullen and sulking like a moody teenager.
Oh yeah, so I gotta resume here on the promo here because Doc's gonna give the microphone to Christian.
Well, with all due respect, some say they don't understand your lifestyle, and others, quite frankly, think the Brood are basically off the charts.
He gives the mic to Christian, and Christian just looks at Doc like, "What?
What? Then come back to me in about 20 years when I'm talking about dead dads and stuff."
Oh God! Don't get me started on Christian in 2025. I don't know who's worse at trying too hard to be a heel, Christian or Becky Lynch.
Oh, because we know Christian can play a smarmy brick heel. That was one of my favorite things about him during his run in TNA.
Oh yeah,
Becky. Nothing about her has ever screamed to me that she can be a heel. I think when she was being manipulated and used by Sasha Banks, like in NXT there, when she kind of debuted like kind of a head banging kind of stuff after when she had tried to do the Irish step dancing thing there the one time.
I don't even remember that in NXT.
I vaguely remember it. Like,
maybe one day we should like review a random 2012 NXT and just see like, oh wow, this sure is different.
Yes. And yet somehow Hugger Bailey is the one that seems to be the only member of the Four Horsewomen that seems to still have any goodwill left with the fans.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but yep.
Because I mean, Charlotte, hell, we just got her just almost by the grace of God, like somehow Tiffany Stratton somehow put their pettiness aside and put on a good match at WrestleMania. But now we're back to what do we do with her now, other than just have her come out and have the fans insult her and then have the next generation of talent come and tell her back of the line, babe. And then Becky, I don't know. Like I said, she seems to come and go as she pleases. I mean, fair that she went trying to be super mom, super worker and all that. But then the promo that she cut here on Monday in Raw was like, oh, this is where we're going. And then Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, it's like, you've been exposed at least. And maybe there was a reason for Vince to micromanage you after all.
You got to think eventually at some point, like, are they going to eventually do a Tony Mercedes match?
I think that's what they're building up to between, I think, is it her and Hayter that are in the final for the Owen Hart's?
I don't know. Like, I'm watching AEW right now.
It was kind of funny. I was watching just before this, I was watching NXT and on WPIX from New York, and they had a local drop-in ad for AEW's Beach Blast, whatever, Beach Brawl or whatever they call it for tomorrow. And I'm like, I got Game 5 of Toronto and Florida to watch instead. Go away.
Is that on TNT Game 5 of the Florida-Toronto series? I gotta check.
Yeah, I don't know if it's...
Let's see. No, it's on ESPN. Edmonton, Vegas is on ESPN. Let me check the basketball. I'm guessing that's going to be preempted for the basketball because Knicks Celtics Game 5 is on TNT and Warriors Timberwolves Game 5 is on TNT. So
yeah, but then they can probably capitalize on the 11 billion people on Max who can watch it.
Oh, yeah. Screw that. They're not watching the NBA, according to Dave. They're watching AEW on Max. All 11 billion people who subscribe to Max. You know, I hate to interrupt because this is a great promo that we're going to cut here when we come back in the bit. But I will say this. I want to say this about Dave, okay? And Dave will never listen to this. But if by chance he is listening, Dave, please get the hell off the Nazi app, okay? It's unhealthy for you. Please stop posting there, okay? I don't care if you think that you need to explain your side of the story to everybody on that app. No. Delete it. Go to Blue Sky like a normal human being or Threads. Just stop.
And take Ricochet with you too.
Oh,
or tell Ricochet to make sure that he's talked to Chris Nowinski to make sure to leave his brain for future studies because, good Lord.
Oh, man. Yeah, he might have CTE for all we know. The real life equivalent of Michael Scott, Ricochet.
Oh, but he's just working us. You foolish drones. You gotta think 5 moves ahead, derp.
All right. Sorry that we interrupted this to talk about a whole bunch of shit. Okay.
Yeah.
We got to get to the best part of this fucking promo. Okay.
Oh yeah. Because right now we got Christian looking like he just got asked some deep personal question by Doc and giving like a pouty face look. So let's continue.
Yeah.
They will understand. Understanding is just a matter of time. The power lies within us, and it's up to us to find it. We are who we are, the unholy trio, and we will become what we will become. For those who believe, will follow. For those that don't, will merely exist. So, Doc, I suggest that you beware. Take care, because the freaks come out at night.
I gotta say, bravo to Edge. He turned what could have been a disastrous segment into something that became an all-time great segment.
Yeah, I mean, and to think this was pre-taped, this was taped. And I think I also remembered hearing something that they actually went out and taped this twice, apparently, this promo.
What? I can believe it.
The take they kept in. So it's almost thinking like, okay, WWE Vaults person, if you're listening, find the raw satellite footage of the first take of this promo, please.
Look, Richard Land, if you're listening, Richard, okay, you have to have the raw satellite feed of this somewhere, okay? You have to find this, because we all need to see the first take of this promo. Oh. But I will say, Edge was so great. And you could see, you watch that promo, and it's like, that guy is going to be a star.
Like, as soon as he took the mic, you could even hear, like, the ladies in the crowd just getting all excited to listen to him speak.
All right, so now let's get back to Doc here, because he's, like, not happy with...
Yeah, this is not going as well as he thought this was.
Yeah. He's like, now I understand how Bill Mercer felt whenever we cut promos on him as the Freebirds.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all are smoking, but if you ask me, seriously, it's nothing but a gimmick. You're just trying to get attention on yourselves.
A gimmick, Doc? Is that what you see? Well, we don't care what you think. We know who we are and what we're capable of. You seem to be the one that's confused. Isn't that right, Michael?
Get it, Dane? They said Michael.
Shoot names have been uttered. You know what? I think is this also the last time that we have him as Doc Hendricks and then he starts going by Michael Hayes?
Yes, because I think he's with the Hardy Boys soon after as their manager.
Yeah, as the new Freebirds.
Yeah, sure. Whatever, Michael.
I think it was also like from one of the AE podcasts, I think when they did Fully Loaded, Hardy / New Freebirds versus the Acolytes for the tag titles, and for some reason Michael Hayes was in the match as well too, so it was like a handicap match, but it wasn't really much of a handicap because it's, the young Hardys who are just, coming up and haven't quite had their breakout moments yet, going against Bradshaw and Farouk, two big mean buggers, and old Michael P.S. Hayes. But apparently, I guess Michael Hayes thought that they were actually going to go with the whole new Freebird stuff, so he was all excited because he was going to get Matt and Jeff to dress up like, like old Bam Bam and Jimmy Jam, but it was dope. You're going to be like, no, you're dressing up like the Hardy, so you wearing cargo pants and like the tight shirts from
like Hot Topic
shirts. So no, it was the other way around. You're dressing Michael. But so after the insult there, we get the lights dimmed and we get the ceremonial bloodbath. And Michael Hayes waking up, dazed and confused and covered in red.
You know what? I bet that wasn't the first time Michael was in a red substance.
All confused. But meanwhile...
Billy's like pissed.
He's pissed. He's looking for X-Pac.
Oh, meanwhile, we go backstage and Kevin is with Ken Shamrock. So why don't we cut to this promo?
Yes, because...
I wonder, is Ken going to be in the zone? We're going to find out.
Well, he's in the zone, all right.
Ken Shamrock, tonight you meet Bradshaw of the Acolytes in a no-holds-barred street fight. Certainly has been a long week for you, courtesy of the Acolytes. It was last Monday on Raw where you came down to the ring preparing to meet Bradshaw, wielding the same bat that Bradshaw victimized you just the night before at Backlash, when it turned into another opportunity for premeditated assault by the Acolytes. The damage was done. The scars may not have healed, but tonight you step into battle nonetheless with Bradshaw. No holds barred street fight.
That's right. Bradshaw's been a pain in my backside. You cost me that match against Undertaker, Bradshaw, and tonight you will pay for that. Street fight rules. See, I was born on the street. I was raised to fight. I fought for space. Well, Bradshaw, I want you to understand one thing. I'm going to break your arms. I'm going to break your legs. And I'm going to break your spirit. And then when I'm through with all that, then I'm going to beat the crap out of you some more. So are you willing to lay it on the line? I am. I'll see you in the ring, punk.
Well, that's good to know, Ken.
Yeah. When dressed in nicely up in his dojo shirt and jorts.
Yep. So we got the street fight match between Bradshaw and Ken Shamrock. And I like that Bradshaw is like, I got a bat again. Meanwhile, Ken comes from behind. He's like, no, you're not. I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
And yeah, here we go.
Yep. So before I get to the review of this match that Scott wrote, I should note, Dane, that earlier today I sent you a post from the Non-Sports Card Nonsense group. And it's a Pro Set World League of American Football card of Bradshaw when he's with the San Antonio Riders in the World League of American Football.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
And I think you told me a story about how, I think you said that TSN might have gotten some of the games from, because Montreal had a team.
Yes, like I said, again, we didn't have any of the stations here carry the games at all, unless you lived in Montreal and you had. But yeah, Montreal, there was a World League American football team in Montreal, which was kind of there just as a placeholder between, because we already had the Montreal Alouettes and the Montreal Concords had folded from the CFL, and I think after the World League finally, I think you told me that they would eventually become NFL Europe and move all the teams to Europe, because then that's when we had the CFL's US expansion, because that's actually, now that you mentioned San Antonio, because we would actually get a San Antonio CFL team there, the San Antonio Texans, who also played in the Alamo Dome.
Yes.
And then, of course, we got the rebirth of the Montreal Alouettes thanks to the Baltimore Stallions / Canadian Football League team / Colts, and the only reason they changed the name because the NFL kind of put a cease and desist because they didn't like the idea of, they still had the Indianapolis Colts, so they didn't like that. And of course, the Colts being a former NFL team in Baltimore, so that's why we had, actually, because they made it to the Grey Cup against BC, so it was the BC Lions versus the Baltimore CFLers.
Well, I think they were going by the Baltimore Stallions at that point.
Not quite yet. The year after, they changed the name to Stallions. First time they were there was the Colts. Then they got the cease and desist from the NFL, and then that's when they just became, they were kind of like that CFL, Canadian Football League team. And then they had a contest or whatever to rename it to the Stallions.
All right. And they did win the Grey Cup in 95.
94, 95, they were 1-1 in the Grey Cup because they made it to 94 against BC. And they even played in the BC Place Stadium. And it was 95 that they played again. I don't remember who they beat in 95, but that was because the 95 was also the last year of the whole end of the U.S. expansion experiment, because half the teams were like bankrupt and busted and stuff, and more so because I think if they put them in that smaller, in different markets and whatnot, because the different markets they had them in, I think at the time were like college towns as well too. So at the beginning of the CFL season, which is usually July, August, the attendance was good, but then once college football starts up, they went down.
I do remember some of the World League games were on here on ABC and USA Network. All right, so now let's get into the Bradshaw Ken Shamrock street fight. Oh, what a stellar street fight this is going to be. This is Scott's review of it. Bradshaw with a pair of corner clotheslines and a full-away slam for two, but Shamrock clips him and rolls into a heel hook, forcing Bradshaw to bail. Shamrock grabs the baseball bat. Bradshaw uses it on him until Shamrock takes the ankle out again. A sign at ringside notes 89 days until Raw is Jericho, which was pretty darn close, if not exactly correct. Oh yeah, they were doing the Millennium ads at this point.
Yes. Countdown to the Millennium.
Now, did you expect it was going to be Jericho at the time?
I had a feeling it was going to be Jericho because I got really into the dirt sheets and knew he had signed and had a feeling it was somehow going to be associated with him. So, of course, then we also have WCW capitalizing on it with good old Sid Vicious calling himself the Millennium Man and trying to break Goldberg's undefeated streak.
And you know what it gave us? The great bits at the end of those two Nitros where Sid's car got destroyed by Goldberg. Oh my God! What happened to my car?
God! Why me, Goldberg? Not again!
That should have been like an ongoing thing each week. Like Sid's car gets destroyed. Oh. All right, back to the match. Shamrock puts him down with the bat and then chokes him out at 4 minutes. This was okay, star and a half. Shamrock snaps and tries to bludgeon Sergeant Slaughter to death with a baseball bat. And now let's go to a wacky interview with Mankind. That's what Scott says.
That is quite the transition. You can almost, we just had Ken Shamrock just about murder people with a bat. Here's Kevin Kelly and Mankind. Lighted up the mood.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to Kevin and Nick.
Mankind tonight here on SmackDown, you renew an old rivalry against the Big Boss Man.
You know, Kevin, as I was sitting in this boiler room, I suddenly had the feeling, doggone it, why don't we just call off the whole thing? Forgive and forget, let bygones be forgotten. Then I realized if I were to do that, I'd be out of a job, and UPN would be out one sports entertainment spectacular. So for those of you who don't know me, let me explain myself. I sit in boiler rooms because I enjoy the ambiance. I wear a sweaty leather mask because it helps me sell little dolls. I wear a shirt and tie because it looks so damn good. And I will shove this rancid sock that looks a lot like me down the gullet of the boss man because I can. And because the fans seem to enjoy it quite a bit. Have a nice day. X-Pac, you can't hide from me forever, X-Pac. Get out of here. Man, what a whiner.
Good old Mickey defined his character right there and then for people that might be tuning in for the first time and explain who he is and what he's doing, what he's all about, and then we get interrupted by angry Billy Gunn still looking for X-Pac.
Meanwhile, Shane McMahon is giving like a speech in the corporate ministry locker room. So I want to share it on the screen share this image here of all the corporate ministry members. Okay, we have Paul Bearer, we have Farouk, we got Taker next to Shane, and then we got Hunter wearing like a generic WWF attitude, like muscle tee.
Yep.
I think it was Rodney and Pete Gas right here. I think it is.
Yeah.
China, Viscera, and Midian's just sitting down.
This gives like modern Judgment Day vibes so much. Like Liv and Raquel are the stars now, and Carlito's like the Midian of the group, and then you probably have like now Dom and Finn kind of like the Taker and Triple H, that they're just tolerating each other just for the sake of things.
So now we get Mankind and the Big Boss Man. So here is the short and sweet Scott review. Boss Man attacks and slugs away to start, but walks into a double arm DDT. Mr. Sacco is threatened, but Boss Man runs away, so Tess tosses him back in for the Mankind roll to get Stu. Boss Man runs away again, and this time Big Show tosses him back in, and Sacco finishes at a minute 30. So yes, this was the start of the biggest loser stable of the era, the Union. See, I told you, Dane, they should have started a union of people you ought to respect. And guess what? They did.
They did, and they will. And it's up yours.
Up yours. Hold on, I gotta share that. See, Tess is wearing like this sweet ass Boo Boo jersey.
Yes, I remember seeing. That's not helping with the Timu Kevin Nash comparisons at all, there, Andrew.
Oh God! And just think, in 4 years, he's gonna be on a Girls Gone Wild pay-per-view. You know, Dean, I discovered that's on archive.org.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll ever review that, but that's something else. Oh, backstage, Billy has found X-Pac and he's beating the crap out of him until Kane comes in and saves X-Pac from the beatdown. So, okay, I guess they're cool again?
Yeah, X-Pac and Kane are cool, and Billy is establishing himself as a heel, and I'm guessing we're getting ourselves there. I can't wait for the big Billy Gunn singles push that we get.
Oh, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait for that.
Even though we had tried this before, earlier in the year, with Billy trying to go after the Intercontinental title, and then deciding, okay, let's put the Outlaws back together again after their bizarre singles title runs that had Intercontinental Champion Road Dogg and Hardcore Champion Billy Gunn.
So now it's time for a main event of this special. Stone Cold and The Rock against Undertaker and Triple H. So we have Triple H and China coming out to the ring. And who is seconding them, Dane? The Mean Street Posse. Because when you think Triple H and China, you know who you think of? Rodney and Pete Gas.
And Triple H just looking, I mean, to think that this guy is now whatever chief content officer, or whatever executive title he gives himself there now, coming out in just like the generic WWF attitude, muscle shirt, like almost like, you know, that's something you would like give like a Funaki or Midian to wear. You wouldn't give that to like a future 2-time Hall of Famer now, would you?
No, you wouldn't. Oh, you know what I just realized, Dane? Tony Chimmel's announcing for SmackDown. Now, did Tony do much announcing like on TV at this point? I know when we did Paul Bear's Hits from the Crypt, he did some matches, but I don't remember Tony ever being on TV announcing.
No. I think this is the beginning of his more present, because I think this is when we also get, since we mentioned Jericho, I think this is how we ended up getting like the big Howard Finkel, Tony Chimmel feud, because Tony Chimmel is starting to replace Howard Finkel, and Fink decides to become the first Jericho disciple. And even though Jericho keeps mispronouncing his name, calling him Harold.
When does Lillian come in?
Oh, you know what? I think she's not too far, because I think somewhere around this time, I think Fink just starts doing pay-per-views, and like Lillian does Raw, and then Tony Chimmel does SmackDown.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's how it was. It was Fink pay-per-views, Lillian for Raw, Tony for SmackDown.
Yeah, which seems to be kind of similar to what they're doing now with, well, they got Alicia Taylor doing Raw and pay-per-view and PLEs, and then they got the Vegas guy now doing SmackDown. And then I think Lillian Garcia is doing just the odd special here and there. I think she's going to be doing like Saturday Night's Main Event and whatnot.
Okay.
And then you got also old crazy hair there in NXT, whatever his name is, I forget.
Old crazy hair, that's his name.
That's what I'm calling him now.
You know what? Have you seen the Raw footage Matthew posted from a SmackDown of Tony Chimmel getting the T-shirt cannon?
Yes,
and he
I did see that.
Right the balls.
Yeah.
I love Tony. He's like, that's fucking bullshit. Right in the fucking balls.
No, not Tony Chimmel's balls.
Hey, it could have been worse. He could have sat on his own balls like Mr. Belvedere did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug Benson, for bringing that to the world's attention, that Mr. Belvedere sat on his own fucking balls.
I'll never watch that show again the same way now, knowing that factoid.
So, yeah, Rock and Stone Cold, like the pops they get are like so freaking huge.
Yeah.
Man. So, let's get into the review from Scott, and we'll wrap this up. Austin pounds on Hunter to start, but runs into a knee that gets two. Hunter puts him on top, but Austin fights off a superplex, and it's over to The Rock. He comes in with a clothesline on Taker, but a DDT gets two. Taker slugs away, but Rock gets his own DDT for two. They clothesline each other, and the corporate ministry all runs in for the DQ at 425. Nothing much, 1 star. The fight spills off into Undertaker versus Austin and Rock versus Triple H, setting up the over-the-edge pay-per-view, and Taker destroys Vince with a chair shot before walking into a stunner. Shane also gets his shots on Vince, but Austin destroys him as well and drinks some beer to end the show. So, yeah.
This was a lot funner to watch than the last time we did an Attitude Era show with, I think we did St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and that ended up being kind of a bit of a slog to watch there at the end. But this was prime, like, must see TV, if you will, at the time.
Yeah, I mean, St. Valentine's Day Massacre took forever to get through, but this, even though the matches were short, like everything in the Russo era, I gotta say, like, it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And like I said, had unfortunate incident not have happened at the pay-per-view the next month, maybe we'd remember the build for this being like all-time great.
Yes, that's the thing. It's an unfortunate shadow is cast over some of the things here, because I remember, like, even there too, like the whole thing, like, even because around this time here too, I think Godfather actually has the Intercontinental title, and that was the match for that pay-per-view, was the Blazer versus Godfather, and the Blue Blazer was supposed to have won the title that night. But at least now we can have Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter and Will Ospreay and, I don't know, random blippy guy number 17 fighting in Owen's honor now next the Double or Nothing.
Yeah, because apparently when I think Owen Hart, I think Timu Becky Lynch and Will Ospreay having like the 90,000 5-star match from Dave Meltzer. I'll say this. Wrestling, you're not going to get great wrestling on any of these Russo era shows.
No, that's the thing. I mean, I know that was Scott's thing there too with the star ratings and stuff like that, but it's almost pointless to want to rate stars for especially this era, because you weren't watching for the matches on TV. You were watching for the crazy shit. You were watching for Shane coming out with the entire corporate ministry. You were watching, well, maybe you weren't necessarily watching it, but you were watching Nicole Bass chasing down Val Venus and saying on TV that he wants his slide trombone in her brass section. And yes, that was an actual line from Nicole Bass during that angle. So, yeah.
Okay, so I actually put up what happened on this night that SmackDown aired. So this aired April 29th of 1999. And I didn't mention that this was taped in New Haven, Connecticut. So I have the listings from TV Tango. So let me get them up. I'm going to share them in the screen share. So on ABC, we had America's Funniest Home Videos at 8. And then at 9, we had ABC Thursday Night Movie, part 2 of 2 of Dean Koontz's Mr. Murder. I don't know what the hell that is. Based on the novel with Dean Koontz, starring Stephen Baldwin and Thomas Hayden Church and James Coburn. What a great cast this is. Wow.
Yeah. Got a Baldwin and wow.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't get Alec, obviously, and we couldn't get Billy. So let's just get Steven. CBS, we had Promised Land at 8 and Diagnosis Murder, part 1 of 2 and part 2. Oh, so we had a 2-parter at 9 and 10 for Diagnosis Murder. Oh, that's fantastic.
Promised Land, wasn't that that was that Touched by an Angel spinoff with Major Dad now traveling across the country helping people's problems or whatever, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, Gerald McRaney, yup. And then NBC, we have Friends at 8, Will and Grace at 8:30, Frasier at 9. I didn't know Veronica's Closet was still on in 99 at 9:30, and ER. And then WB, we have Wade's Brothers at 8, Jamie Foxx Show at 8:30, Steve Harvey at 9, and whatever For Your Love is at 9:30. But at Fox, we have a Grand Canyon live jump by Robbie Knievel at 8, and a special at 9, World's Scariest Police Explosions. So SmackDown did a 4. So SmackDown did a 4, and when you consider America's Funniest Home Videos, which was the 4th place show, did a 4.7. I guess that's pretty good. And it did like a point better of whatever WB had.
Yeah. But of course, there too, like Thursday was, I mean, you just said there, like NBC, you still had their power combo there of like Friends and Frasier. So
8 through 9:30 is pretty good.
Yeah.
The only weak link is Veronica's Closet out of that.
Well,
5 shows.
Yeah. Well, mind you, I think, was it 98 that Seinfeld finally ended their run?
Yeah, this is the first season post Seinfeld, yeah.
They were still trying to figure out something to fill in the Seinfeld gap. It was either that or Suddenly Susan.
I don't even know if Suddenly Susan was still on 99. So I think it was probably a good idea to put Veronica's Closet because it's like Kelsey Grammer and Christy Alley, like 2 former Cheers stars together in like 1 hour. So
yeah,
it probably makes a lot of sense. But you can see that this special did well for UPN standards, and they thought, you know what? We should make this an ongoing series. And they did in the fall. And I cannot believe that it's now 26 years later, and it's gone from UPN to CW to My Network to Sci-Fi to USA to Fox and then back to USA, I think.
Like I said, see, at least here in Canada, it was always on the same network, just the network name itself changed. Because like I said, it used to be Headline Sports, then The Score, and then Sportsnet 360. And now it's on Netflix.
Yeah, UPN to CW to My Network to Sci-Fi to USA to Fox back to USA.
Yep.
Well, that's the SmackDown pilot, Dane. So next time we're on the Squared Circle Time Machine, how about we go on a little trip?
A little trip, you say?
A little trip. Let's go to the Vault Channel, and how about we go around the world? Like
around the world?
Around the world. How about we go to like...
You're talking like a world tour of some sort?
Yeah, a world tour. Like we could go to London, we could go to Paris. We could probably take a trip. We could go to the Tokyo Dome and see the Tokyo Dome and admire the fact that so many 5-star matches were rated by Dave Meltzer here.
Will Lord Alfred Hayes be accompanying us on this tour?
Oh, well, you're not going to believe this, Dane, but Lord Alfred's going to be our chaperone for this trip.
Smashing.
Yes. I've been told that Lord Alfred's going to show us all the hot tourist spots here in Europe.
Excellent.
So we'll be here next time on the Squared Circle Time Machine as we review the Coliseum video tape WWF World Tour, parentheses 1990, because that was the year the tape was made. So we'll see you with that next time here on the Squared Circle Time Machine. I'm Greg, that was Dane, and we'll see you for our next episode coming down the pike real soon. Because then, if we don't post it, it would be forbidden by the Undertaker.
Hey.
Side by side. Edge, what's been going on?
The bloodlines that bind become strained from time to time. But once again, all is back in line.
The differences with my blood brothers have been resolved. A lack of communication, whatever you want to call it. But with the passing of adversity comes strength.
The fury of the brood will rage forever.
So beware. Take care. Because the freaks still come out at night.